Hello there, everybody. This is Alan Feldman from the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. And thank you for watching. When people are involved in politics, you'll hear a lot of times they look back at the generations that are coming up after them and think, well, they're not as involved as we were. They don't do as much as we did. They're not as informed as we were. They're not accomplishing anything. And that's one of the things we'll be discussing today, along with the future. We'll find out whether that's a real or a myth. And we'll talk about the future of the Democratic Party, the current state of the Democratic Party, both here in Orange County, California, and throughout the country. And to help us in this discussion today, we have two people who are, well, they're not only the present of the Democratic Party, they are also the future of the Democratic Party. Adam Tayabas is he's the chair of the Young Democrats of Orange County, and he is also director for Katrina Foley, the 5th District Orange County Supervisor's Office. The 5th District is the region, the area that covers all of Laguna Woods. And we also have Jeannie Lee, who I'm just going to give you her last job because she does a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs. Her last job was as an organizing director for the what's called the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which is a national organization for the 47th Congressional District, which is the district that Katie Porter left to run for the Senate and which happily Dave Min ran and won for this year. So Adam and Jeannie, I want to thank you all very much for being here today. And we know, especially in this Christmas time, it's tough to find time, so we greatly appreciate it. So I just want to start, Jeannie, if I could start with you, and Adam, I'm going to ask you the same question. How did you get started in politics? What called you? Is it a calling? How'd you get started? When'd you get started?
Yeah.
And why'd you get started?
Of course. It was all by accident. I went to UC Irvine, and I was just walking around campus when someone came up to me and encouraged me to join the College Democrats at UC Irvine. And I came with no expectations. I just thought it was another group to hang out with and see. But they created such a fun and welcoming space. They actually became mentors for me, a lot of them, and continued to inspire me to engage in this place and really uplift me. They made me want to keep working and want to keep engaging, and they made it not difficult to do so.
Well, let me ask you too. I want you to just list some of the things that you've already done, besides where you've worked. Because it was pretty amazing to me just looking at it. I couldn't remember it, and I hate to read, so I'm going to ask you to do it.
Titles for references only, but right. I became president of the College Democrats at UC Irvine. I was chair of the Orange County Young Democrats. I'm currently the regional director for Orange County for the California Young Democrats. And then I've also been the Vietnamese constituency organizing director with the DCCC in the 45th District, as well as the organizing director for the 45th District with the DCCC. After that, I worked with Jessie Lopez on her recall campaign. I then became the field representative for Assemblymember Josh Lowenthal, where I continue to work today. And then I took a brief hiatus to help Jessie Lopez again with her re-election campaign. And then Dave Min with his congressional campaign. And then very end there, also Derek Tran with ballot curing.
Okay. I'm exhausted.
And Jeannie won all of them.
I know.
By the
way. Really. And Adam, how about you? The same question. When did you get started? What drove you to politics?
I got started in college. I was a political science major at California State University, Long Beach. And there I'd always, kind of been in this world, kind of been around it, just being in poli-sci. But what really got me into is this is like my formative story, is I took a U.S. Congress class where it was a simulation where you get to make a member of Congress.
Oh, wow.
And someone walks in one day, and this is right after the 2018 election, and someone walks in with a Congressman Harley Ruda shirt. And I at the time I was living in the 48th district, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's my congressman. I voted for him." And now that person is now one of my good friends because she really got me into this world and pulled me in, taught me what Orange County Young Democrats is. I ended up interning and running the internship program for Congressman's re-election campaign in 2020, and that was just kind of, it's all history from there.
Yeah. So 2018, those are the golden days in Orange County. But that's history, isn't it? So let me ask you both. Well, let me just ask you this too. I mean, how do you see it, Paul? Now, we don't know what the future is going to hold, but I'm talking about you individually in politics. Do you see this as a career path that you would follow for your entire life, something that you could be involved in for your entire life, or is it, this is my job, I'm doing this right now, and it's great and it's interesting, but 5 years, 10 years from now, I might go on to something else. Adam, what do you think?
I think it is something I can take for a long time because I've learned that a way that I can make a change in the world and I can make good progress in my community is through politics. And something I've started saying now is that there is no policy without politics.
Absolutely.
We can't get these fantastic lawmakers and policymakers into office if we do not run good campaigns, if we do not have great volunteer programs, have good feeder programs like Orange County Young Democrats. So it's definitely I want to continue doing.
All right. And how about you, Jenny? You see yourself doing this 10 years from now?
Yeah, I wanted to work in nonprofits when I was entering college, and this I feel is just not too far different. At the end of the day, my existence in itself is political. Even if I wanted to separate myself from this space, I wouldn't be, and I would still need to be able to work here.
Yeah, you still need to do it. So it is kind of like a call-in, at least at this point. Like the mafia, I can't get out even if I want. There's only one way out. Well, let me ask you about that. We get now into the realm of a little bit of conjecture because I'm asking you about other people. But what we always hear about young people, they ain't like us, basically. Some of it is just bravado, and some of it people actually think that way. So I'm interested in what you guys think. What do you guys think? Jeannie, what do you think first? What do you think? Are young people involved in politics? Are they involved in the level that they, I don't know what to say, should be? Because we're putting out our hair on fire from watching NBC every 10 minutes. We're addicted, right? But other people aren't quite addicted.
Right.
But anyway, you don't need my question. I need your answer.
Yeah, I think for young people, the same thing applies. Their existence is political. So at the end of the day, they are aware. They are just engaging in a different way than we see other people are engaging. And the other thing here too is when we are going to school and we're trying to figure out where we're supposed to live next year, how we're supposed to put gas in our tanks, sometimes it gets a little hard to go on, open your phone, and read about what else is happening in the world. But also, at the same time, it's a very daunting space. Politics is very broad, local, statewide, national.
Right.
And so another thing that we need to be doing here is making sure that we're creating a safe space for people to enter and learn and to understand what's happening, because the resources need to come to them. If you are asking young people to go out and seek this knowledge, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to do with the entire life that they have ahead of them that they need to be focusing on. And that's what I think the mission of the Orange County Young Dems is.
Yeah. How about you, Adam? What's your take on it?
I think that I very much agree with Jeannie that young people are engaging in other ways. It may not, like Jeannie said, look like what other folks are doing. But I think that the problem that is a big barrier for young people is the fact that, we are worrying about so many other different things, and our cost of living is just astronomical and unacceptable. And when we're talking to students at UC Irvine, at Chapman, at Cal State Fullerton, and we're trying to get them engaged, they always tell us we sympathize with everything you're saying, but I don't know how I'm going to pay rent tonight. I don't know if I'm going to eat dinner. So I'm sorry, but I can't focus on this.
Right.
So I think that the heart is there. But there are so many societal barriers to entering this space that it makes it very hard for them to jump in.
Yeah, and let me ask you, and I realize that both of you guys really don't have a real good way to answer this question because it is totally conjecture on your part. It'd be based on what you've read and heard in the past. But, do you think that younger people earlier in past generations were more active, were more involved? Or do you think it's just, people have different, as you were saying, people have different ways of being involved now, which older people simply don't understand and comprehend. So what's your talk? Either of you can pick it up first and the other can follow on.
Yeah, I think that it just is a generational difference in how you look at it. And I think that each generation had their moment, had their big, huge organizing moment. Like the most previous generation had the Occupy movement.
Right.
They had Obama. They had all of those years where, the Obama years, the young people were the young Democrats were the cool kids in town. And I think that right now, this post-Biden era, I think we're going to be looking to unlock what our version of that is going to be. And we're not going to find it overnight. We're not going to find it by the time the taping's done,
Right.
But I think that is what our mission is, and what our task is ahead of us right now is how do we unlock that? How do we meet young people where they are? And I mean, we did a lot of that this year. We did a lot of culturally relevant programming to young people, and it really, I think we're on the upswing because of it. I mean, we're very close to unlocking that, big time Obama era excitement.
Yeah.
We're almost there, but we just, a little more time.
I mean, we need an Obama.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. How about you, Jean?
I think to add on, I just want to highlight how engagement looks differently with our generation. So, for example, when I open Instagram, I am following accounts that tell me about news, tell me about what's happening in the world, and I'm looking at my friends' stories, and even though half of their stories is them out partying and living life, when something is happening in the world, I'm also seeing them post out there. Yeah. They're like, unfollow me if this, or this is what I believe in, this is where I draw the line. On TikTok, I know that people don't like to talk about TikTok because they think it's just random brain rot, but also a lot of our engagement on there is people who are informed and are engaged in the political space, and they're giving out information. You are getting educated when you are on that space, when you are following the right content creators. There are also this big movement of highlighting BIPOC and queer content creators on TikTok because they utilize that platform, not just to talk about some dance that's trending, not that that's not fun, but they're also talking about nuances of Moana, the movie, right? They are talking about things that are happening in Georgia, in Korea. They are highlighting and having engagement in this. And what a lot of, I think a small movement that people may not hear about is silent feminism, where maybe I'm not going out there and actively protesting every day, but there are silent pieces of protest that I am doing. I am not moving out of the way for a man who's walking by, for example, or I am sharing information about Planned Parenthood, destigmatizing reproductive justice in everyday conversations. There are small things that youth are doing, but just aren't seen in the way that would be visible to older generations.
Yeah, well, I really think you're 100% correct. I love that term too. What's the word you used before? Brain rot.
Yes, we love to call it brain rot, but there's more to it than that.
Well, anything is brain rot if you don't use it right. I mean, really, when you come right down to it, it's how you consume the information. It's not the information. How do we? After this, I want to kind of move maybe to the Democratic Party. Okay. What your visions are for the Democratic Party, short term and long term. But how do we get people how do we get people to move from what they're doing to get engaged?
Get them into
I'm not even talking about getting engaged on a working level, although that would be beautiful. Right. Knocking on doors and so forth. I understand that that's really difficult to do. But just voting, getting involved in voting, because I looked at we have the exit polls are just bare information, but you know, the lowest number of people who voted, lowest percentage was young people.
Yeah.
Us old people voted 98% in Orange County, but young people only voted 65%. I don't think 65% is terrible, but anyway, how do you drag them in? How do you drag them out?
Well, I think the first thing that I'm going to highlight here is the fact that at UC Irvine, students were waiting in line for over 2-3 hours to vote on election day. They have classes, they have things to do, and they were waiting in line for 2-3 hours to vote, but there were so many barriers to vote that made it that difficult for them to be there. The fact that there was only one polling location on a student campus filled with, I don't even know the number right now, right? And the only reason that started to pick up is because Katrina Foley went in there gung-ho and was like, where is the staff? Why aren't we moving these lines? So part of youth engagement is making these things more accessible for them, which we are actively not doing. We are actively making it more inaccessible for students to vote. And then the other thing that I will say about like getting young people engaged in this space is like really just making it less daunting. Really just, I think Adam would love to talk more about this, but OCYD loves to make this a fun space to be in.
Yeah, so our vision for getting young people engaging, like you said, not even just in a working capacity, but just to be around and be around the space is really meeting young people where they're at and having fun. That is the whole part or the whole point of our space. And, you know, I like to say that we want to have fun with a side of politics.
Yeah.
You know, so Orange County Young Democrats has almost all of our meetings at bars or nightclubs so that we have a place for young people to come and they can have fun. You know, they don't have to talk about the election that's coming up. You know, they can just talk to us about sports. Let's talk about pop culture. Let's be friends. And, you know, I know that we've made a lot of friends doing that. And so many new people have come in and told us, like, we are so thankful that, you know, you're doing this and that we're having a fun space, you know, and having a space where we can bring, you know, people who maybe not politicos.
Right.
You know, we're making it a safe space for somebody who could be a grocery clerk, who could be pushing carts at Costco. You know, we want them to be able to come in and be comfortable and feel like they're not being talked down to when it comes to these substantive policy conversations. You know, it's like, hey, let's have a beer. Let's talk about, you know, the Laker game's on tonight. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
You know, so many of our events this past year were at a brewery in the spring of this year, at a brewery watching all the Lakers games, and we would take members out and go to bars and watch the Lakers in the playoffs. You know, and people loved it, and that's the model we're really going to take forward. Is, you know, let's just be not casual, but a place where people can have fun and make friends, and, you know, at one point of the year, let's vote on things. Let's fill out our ballots together, you know.
I just want to add on to that a little. Like, when we say having fun, this is because the world out there is crazy right now, and politics is daunting. And sometimes what we need is to be able to leave work and come together with like-minded people and just be able to talk about that world, but also about other things, knowing that we are in a safe space with other like-minded people. That's what that fun means. It means creating a place where we're comfortable to be ourselves and to digest what's happening around us without the pressures of all the other things going on.
Kind of like making politics a part of life.
Yeah, because it is.
Yeah, it is, exactly. Excuse me. It's you know, I'm sure for you, it's all encompassing, but it's not for everybody.
And we're called the Democratic Party.
That's right.
For a reason.
That's
It
right.
should be a party.
Well, let's move to the Democratic Party now. Now that we're here licking our wounds in January, and what do you see as the state of the party right now? You know, right here in 2024, right after watching Donald Trump get elected president again. What's your feeling of the state of the party? How are people in the party feeling?
I think that right now we are, like you said it really well, we're licking our wounds.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, just nationally. But I think that when you bring it locally, I think that it's almost a celebratory atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because, we did it so well here in Orange County. Our organizers were so good. Organizers, including Jeannie, did so well in flipping an entrenched incumbent in the 45th district. Protecting Katie Porter's seat, protecting Mike Levin's seat. And I think that here, at least locally in our community, it's just like, it's a breath of fresh air from what you're seeing, the doom and gloom.
Yes.
And I just have to say that I think it's maybe because we are so lucky that we live in Orange County, we live in California, in a very democratic state. And I haven't had a chance to speak to folks from Georgia or Tennessee or maybe the Midwest and the South, but I have to think that maybe they're rightfully worried about what's to come because of their Republican state leaders,
Right.
who are going to be enabled by a Trump administration.
Yeah. And Jeannie?
I agree with Adam. Although we had a great loss at the federal level or with our presidency, down ballot, we did so well. We did amazingly down ballot. And the only thing I will say there is when I see our results today, all I think about is, all right, that happened, now what? How can we organize? What did we do wrong this year, or what were we missing this cycle that we need to start building up and take to 2026? Because, for example, like Huntington Beach, I want Huntington Beach back. That's our next goal.
Yeah. And I do want to add to our, not our victory lap, but that we are extra excited because we have a few cities now in Orange County that elected multiple young Democrats. Buena Park has a majority young Democrat council now. The city of Garden Grove, we flipped that council from Republican to Democrat this year, and we elected that with, we of course had Philip Nguyen in District 2, but in District 5 and 6, you have Yesenia Muñetón, young Democrat, and Ariana Arstegui, young Democrat. Santa Ana, we had multiple young Democrats win.
Yep.
And so, personally, like us, for Orange County Young Democrats, it was a very successful cycle.
And we also got rid of, I think he's only a portion in Orange County, but Mike Garcia.
Yeah.
Right?
We were, I think almost every single congressional seat in Southern California, except for 2, we were able to either flip or hold.
Yeah, unfortunately here in Laguna Woods, we're in this, we're in like a Republican woods, Republican clearing from the woods. We got a Republican state senator, Republican representative, and a Republican member of Congress. But, that's I think, we love that Dave Min held that seat because he is extremely popular in Laguna Woods.
Overwhelmingly, too.
Yeah.
But I think a real huge victory was Michelle Steele losing. Michelle Steele is, unlike Young Kim, is full-on MAGA. And campaigns have been pretty sleazy, waiting till the very end and dumping all these TV ads. Last 2020, her opponent was a communist. And now Derek Tran was supporting sexual offenders. Well, so was she, but that's something else.
It was a ridiculous and nasty race, and I'm just glad we pulled it out. We got on top.
Right. We did. Let's move to the future.
Yeah.
Past the present. We have stuff now that we need to work on, and we got about 5 minutes left. So. How about the future of the Democratic Party? How does the Democratic Party stop losing elections? They don't really lose elections, but always seem to be on the defensive. It never. What do we do? How do we move the party forward? Let's just put it like that.
I think that to move the party forward, we have to start in, maybe it's unintentional, but I don't know if the party really embraces the regular person. OCYD, that's why I said, we really make it a point to embrace the regular person. The person who is working for 12 hours a day to barely be able to afford dinner tonight, to be able to afford rent, And so I think that our programming needs to be a little more malleable to them. And as well, the folks that are in those positions of power, I think that we need to take some real positive progress when it comes to lowering the cost of living. Let's produce more housing. Let's do what we can to help with the out of control cost of tuition. So that folks that are worrying so much about all of these costs, they don't have to. They don't have to worry if, oh my gosh, am I going to make rent tomorrow? Am I going to do all this? So I think that is why we saw a turnout drop nationwide this year, is because people have all these problems and they're looking for solutions. And I think that our leaders are prepared to do that and will do that.
How do you see the future?
Well, like I said earlier, we need to start organizing
Now.
yesterday.
Yeah.
We had too many races that were either won or lost by 100, 200. I mean, Derek Tran was 600, right? Like these are organizing numbers. And so we need to start putting in that work now and making sure that we're prepared for 2026.
Yeah.
Well, I was really interested in what you were saying because my personal opinion is the Democratic Party, we tendency to look over the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to save the whales, we want nuclear disarmament, we want economic and environmental justice.
Yeah.
And those are all worth having beyond,
Yeah.
beyond that. But you've got to explain to people how it affects their lives.
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
I think that maybe when we're having these big conversations, it doesn't need to be the big swing. It doesn't need to be the big tent ask. It could be about, here's how this issue is going to affect your monthly rent, your gas bill, your electricity bill.
Yeah.
And we need to get down to the granular issues, and we need to just come to ground level and see people eye to eye rather than looking down on them.
Okay, so I guess this will probably be the final question because I
Yeah.
think we're almost out of time. What can we, and I'm talking about people of my generation and generations, and there's a few generations between me and you, all those generations. What can we do to help? What can we do to get people involved? Help you?
Of course, I would always say Orange County Young Democrats we can always be supported financially. We're always taking donations. We do use that money to reinvest in the community. We reinvest in voter outreach and talking to these people and having these fun events to get people involved. I would also encourage your generation and viewers to encourage your grandchildren, your family to join Orange County Young Democrats and get involved. And I think a last thing would be encourage folks who may be in power for a long, long time to start building the bench below you. Start filling that bench with young, diverse voices that are going to take the torch, because you cannot hold on to that torch forever.
That's right.
So start building that bench, and when it's time, step aside so that that bench that you have built will carry your legacy on.
Yeah.
How about you, Jenny?
I'm a big bench builder. That's what I believe in. I happily stepped away as chair of the Orange County Young Dems because I found Adam and we built him up, and I handed it fully over to him because I could have stayed there. I could have done that another year, but why should I when I could make space for someone else? And I know that he is going to take his time to make space for someone else to come along after us. Like even now, years after I've graduated UCI, I still check in with the college Dems at UCI, and I still try to do what I can to keep them up. And I think that is the biggest thing that you can do for young people. Make space for them, teach them, train them, and help bring them in and build them up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank you both very, very much.
Thank you.
I really, really do. It was encouraging to speak to you. It really was. A lot of people are, quite down in the dumps about the election, but that's history, right?
There is hope.
That's right. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.